Good afternoon. This is Maria Clardy Davis, and today I want to talk to you, really tell you a story. I started by thinking I wanted to tell my story, my journey, or the hero's journey, but I actually wanted to do something different. I wanted to share my journey and really not as a hero, but how I became a guide. So, once upon a time, long, long ago, I decided to attend a mental health facility or substance abuse mental health facility opening. And I was really excited because, as a mental health care attorney, I really enjoy advocating and supporting people, places, programs, and things that have to do with mental health. So I went, put on my name tag, name, title, and kind of position, company, and I walked into the room and just really started meeting people. And the most bizarre thing kept happening. I kept getting these weird stares. They were a mix of confusion, curiosity, fear. Well, not really fear, but I would say fear, but mostly confusion and curiosity. And you'll find out later. And it just kept happening. And I kept thinking to myself, do I have something on my shirt? Is it me? So finally I decided to muster up the courage to ask someone, what is going on? Is there something that I'm doing wrong? And they courageously told me that they didn't often see attorneys at events like those. And I'm saying, well, and I told them, what do you mean events like these? What, well, lawyers never show up? Well, said the person, well, we see attorneys, but just not at these events and not in these circumstances. Well, what do you mean? And they looked at me and said, we really don't see attorneys in the mental health care space unless it's litigation or compliance or ethics training. And I just stopped, and I was surprised and just confused myself. And I said, never. And they said, almost never. And so that story was a seed that was planted many years ago, but a seed nonetheless that really, fast forward, led me to a lot of the transitions and changes and evolutions in my law firm and in my business that I am making in 2021. And so that story is an important story to kind of chart where I'm going. But before I tell you where I'm going, let me tell you a little bit about me and where I've been. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mariette Clardy Davis, and I'm a mental health care attorney in the state of Georgia. And I specifically provide legal services with the focus of mental health for patients and providers, employees and companies alike, really to help them reduce the overwhelm and gain more peace of mind. So a lot of the origin of my law firm has to do with my story, my journey. At 21, I was diagnosed with bipolar depression my senior year of college. And with that diagnosis came kind of a journey unlike no other, but a journey that was needed for me to be where I am today. I struggled with crippling anxiety, mind numbing, often very dark, deep and prolonged periods of depression. And layered on top of that were feelings of shame, feeling like I was an imposter, feeling like I was ill-equipped because I, as smart as I was or as I thought I was, felt ill-equipped to handle or have the tools or resources to help me in my journey to stability and even to support myself as a professional. So I spent so many years in my journey, first as a student, then as a graduate student, which is where I had my first stint with inpatient psychiatric treatment. And then finally, for years as a professional, as a working professional. And the journey of being a female of color as a professional with a mental illness. And I realized that there were so many times where I felt alone. And it was really because I didn't see anyone represented outside of myself that shared my story. And I didn't see where it was safe to share my story. And more importantly, I didn't see any visions of what stability even looked like for a Black female professional with bipolar disorder. So I spent countless years in therapy. I spent time at 3 behavioral health care facilities. I really it was really the gamut of different types of feelings and emotions and rises and falls. And at the same time, throughout all of that, I participated in countless activities. I volunteered. I rejoined and became active again in my sorority as an AKA. I volunteered at church. I sang in the choir. I did mock trial coaching. I danced salsa. I took competitive shooting lessons. I did it all. And at the same time, I would go home many nights and I would just feel so low that I felt like I was living the life of a ghost, of a zombie. I was really the walking dead. And so a lot of my business today and the pivotal changes that I made in my journey and my even road to stability is kind of where the foundation of my law firm and my love of mental health came. So one of the big questions is, what was the pivotal change? What was the pivotal moment? Well, it was 2 things, maybe 3, but 2 things. The first was going to a behavioral healthcare treatment outpatient for about 30 days, where I learned about something called DBT therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. And that became the anchor in which I began to build my own toolbox for stability. And then another more important thing is I realized that I didn't have a road, I didn't have a guide. And so when I finally decided, stepped into that journey, I realized that one of my greatest challenges has always been feeling the need of being just X. So feeling like there was only one way to get to stability, that you had to do business only one way, that you had to be just an attorney or just a speaker or just a trainer or just a coach, and feeling like I was boxed in so many areas of my life. I think one of the biggest changes, especially on the road of to my stability, was understanding that I don't have to be just one thing. So why do something different? I think another big question that I'm often asked lately is, what happened? You know, you were a mental health care attorney. I still am. But what made you decide to pivot and do something different? And the answer to that really is twofold and layered. The big thing is, I'm not really doing something different. I'm going back to something I had done so long ago, but was seen in glimpses of things in my life, but I'm bringing now more into the forefront. So I decided that I learned so many, and I'm learning and will continue to learn so many great tools, legal tools. But oftentimes what I've learned is that the solutions are often not just legal solutions. My solution wasn't just a legal solution. The solutions of my clients, whether it is companies, organizations, patients, professionals, legal may be a aspect, but it's not the only solution. And so that started kind of my thinking, maybe I can create something in my business that encompasses all 3 of those, because I use all of those tools to create unique solutions and to be able to just own it and step into it. And then I think another couple things is that lack of representation. and I say this a lot, especially in my speeches, is that I found in my journey a lack of representation and a lack where I felt safe to share my story. And in many companies, I often am, I often learn from the input of their employees or clients that often they don't feel safe sharing their story. And so there's this thing, what I call perception versus reality. There's a perception in many companies and law firms, especially, that they have this safe space, that they create and have these programs, that HR is, cranking out these initiatives, that they have this vision and this mission to support their employees when it comes to mental health care and wellness and just overall peace of mind. But the reality is so much different. So I decided that creating solutions to kind of close that gap through building awareness, through unique solutions, practical solutions to help employees feel more safe in sharing their story, to give and equip HR with practical tools. You have the law, you have compliance, you have code, you have all of that. But then what does all that look like in real life? How do you take that and build and implement a vision that creates safe spaces and allows for voices to be heard? So I decided that as a Black professional with bipolar depression, I was in a unique position to provide that input, that aspect, and more importantly, the voice, because oftentimes in companies and organizations and even behavioral healthcare facilities, the voice of a Black female professional with bipolar depression is often not at the table, and their voice is very rarely heard. And so over the next few weeks, I will share a little bit more about what I've encountered as pain points, often of employers, HR, mental health care facilities. I really want to dig into that and then kind of evolve into the solutions that I feel in my journey have been effective, not only as a professional, but effective for employers and mental health care facilities, and really just for people who want to create safe spaces for different voices other than their own to be heard and recognized. So I think that's it for today. Just letting you behind the curtain. And I'm very, very grateful that you decided to join me today to learn a little bit about my origin story. But again, this hero's journey, my hero's journey, is really not about me being a hero. It's about me learning to be a guide so that I can guide you in your own hero's journey. Thank you and have a good night.